Yo, what's good, YouTube? In today's video, I'm giving you guys the #1 best settings to run here in Black Ops 6 Warzone. A lot of these settings are going to be changing. Some of them are staying the same. So we got everything updated for you guys here today. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like for the algorithm, subscribe with notifications turned on, and let's get into it. All right, so for our first thing we're going to be jumping into is going to be the controller tab, because I'm going to be playing controller on PC. These settings work universally. It doesn't matter if you're on, PS5, Xbox, PS4, whatever it may be. Controller on PC, like in my case, these are going to work out great for everybody. So first thing is going to be, of course, your aiming input device. This has to be on controller, especially if you're playing on PC. Down to that, we're going to go to the button layout. So mine says default, but we're going to click into this real fast. Basically, I play on tactical flipped, which means that, of course, my melee and my crouch or my slide is going to be, flip-flop back and forth, which in my opinion is the better way to play, especially if you have a controller that's got some back paddles on it. It's just really nice. And even if you don't, it's just really nice to be able to, tap to slide, because that's a huge thing. Obviously, with the Omni movement, you really want to be taking advantage of that. So having it on tactical flipped or making it so that your slide button is in place here melee is going to be huge, and I think you guys should definitely be doing something about that instead of just running with like a standard default, something like that. You want to be able to slide around, utilize Omni movement, because of course that's taking over Warzone. After that, for our stick layout preset, we're just keeping that on default. No reason to switch this up. Doesn't really make a difference. Horizontal sticks, vertical stick sensitivity, mine is on a 6.6. So your sensitivity is largely what works for you, right, as a person, to your personal, taste. But if you're playing on something that's really high and you're finding that you're missing a lot of shots, you definitely need to dial it back, because you can even be playing on, for instance, I used to play on like an 8.8, and I found that that was a little bit too high for me. And I found like I was missing my shots and not being nearly as accurate. And ever since I switched it down, got a lot better. I've been getting so many comments talking about you got sticky aim, you get a chrominus, something like that. I got hacks of some sort. It's because my aim is really good and it's really sticky. So I have this settings dialed in properly. So for me, a 6.6 horizontal vertical works out really nicely, and you guys should be doing that, or just like doing something kind of similar to that, because even the best players in the world don't play on a high sensitivity. They largely play on a lower sense, and that's just for that reason. It helps them be more accurate. We're going to turn off, obviously, the simplified controls preset off. Don't need that low motor strain. That's going to be off. Keep that off. And of course, down to the swap L1 R1 L2 R2. I have this on because I grew up playing on like PS3, PS2, stuff like that. And so we played with L1 R1. I'll just bring up my scuff controller that I'm not using right now. But basically, when you think about it, tapping in these top triggers is a lot faster than tapping in the bottom ones. Granted, these are hair triggers, so for me personally wouldn't really matter, but for a large majority of people out there, they don't have hair triggers on the bottom. They're just standard all the way press in, so it takes a little bit more to get that. So I'd recommend swapping to your top. Apart from that, your controller vibration can be on or off. I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, mine's randomly on. I've had it on for so long that it doesn't bother me. Even when it's off, I don't really even notice it all that much. It's just something I just leave on. Trigger effect, you definitely want this to be off. We don't need any of that haptic feedback BS. That's not beneficial in any way, shape, or form. Now down to something that's really important, your dead zones. So you guys can see, I mean, I could even test my stick dead zones, but basically I have like 1 degree of of movement. If you guys test it for yourself, see what your controller is at. But my left stick and my right stick are both at 0. Basically, the lower you can get these, the better. It does make a difference in how fast you react. You don't want your dead zones way up there to that 15, because obviously that means that you have 15 degrees of stick movement where there's absolutely nothing being registered in game. That means like you have, you're starting to hit your stick, starting to try to move, starting to react to somebody that's 15 degrees where you're literally not getting anything. So you want to be able to lower it down as much as possible. So having that left stick preset down to 0 works for me, and right stick preset down to 0 works for me. That's really good. Also, the left stick max, basically this is your stick that you move around with, like you're going forward, backwards, so on and so forth. Basically what this does is this shortens the amount of overall like length I can go before I reach maximum sort of like input, meaning that if I'm trying to tack sprint, which I like to do a lot, I don't have to press the stick all the way over to the very end. I only have to get it 60% of the way there for that to actually trigger in and be like, all right, that's the end of his area that he uses. So that's all I have to press it. Technically speaking, I still move it to the end, but it kicks in a little bit before that. So I just locked off 40% there that I don't really need. That's just an excess area that doesn't matter. But obviously, going down to your right stick max, we don't want to block off anything, because that's the stick you aim with. So we want to keep that at 99. But like I said, keep your left stick minimum, your right stick minimum as low as possible. It does help you out. And your left trigger and right trigger should realistically be at a 0-0, unless like if you're playing with what I was playing with, which is that Scuff and Vision, which had basically hair triggers, and I did have to have a dead zone on there because the triggers were so touchy that just randomly I'd hit a throwing knife or hit a stim shot or something like that. So I had to have a 20 dead zone on there because it was just an instant click anyways. It didn't really matter. It was just to keep it from auto clicking by itself. Now moving into the aiming tab here, we have our sensitivity multiplier. So I'll hit show more on this. Basically what you want to go down here and do is you do not want to mess with your ADS sensitivity multiplier focus. You want to leave that at a 1.0. We don't need to lessen our focus multiplier at all. It's not something we should be touching. The only thing you should be concerned with is your ADS sensitivity multiplier. Just in general, this is what's going to allow you to have either more of like a faster sensitivity new ADS or a slower one. So you can see mine is on a 0.70, meaning that I only get 0.70 of my 6.6 sensitivity when I'm ADSing, allowing me to slow down my aim even more so, and I can miss less shots. You guys can dial this into what you want to. On previous Warzone, I played on a 0.8. I found my aim was a little bit off on Black Ops 6, and so I wanted to move this around a little bit, so I dialed it down to even a 0.70. I found that to be really good, but I might mess around with it here a little bit more. Just dial this back from that 1.0. It's going to help 99% of people out there. Test it out for yourself. I'd recommend going to a 0.9, like a 0.85, and then a 0.8. See what works for you in there, and if you feel like you need more, obviously dial it in more, but that's kind of like what I'd recommend. Now, right out of that tab, we go down here to the aiming advanced settings. This is also pretty huge as well. We're going to click into this, and this it has some settings that will mess you up if you don't have this. So ADS sensitivity transition timing, this will like by default be on like gradual or like after zoom. You want it on instant because gradual means that it's like it's only gradually giving you that more aim assist, which is like, no, we do not want that. We want it to be instantaneous. Like we want the instant, you know, more aim assist when we go to like ADS, something like that. We want it to be fully there, not like take some time to kick in. That's going to make your shots feel a lot more inaccurate. We don't want that. So have that on instant. And then your aim response curve type could be on standard or dynamic. I've been testing the two of them. People are kind of going back and forth between dynamic and standard. So that's just something to kind of be aware of. If you're on standard, you're not doing it wrong. If you're on dynamic, you're not doing it wrong. And I've even seen some people talking about linear. So this is a little bit of up in the air right now. There's not like a general consensus that one is just, you know, the God tier setting. So between standard or dynamic would be something I should say you guys to try. But that's basically going to be that in this tab. You just want to keep that, of course, at a 1.0. This is something that also people are messing with by going into like, you know, dynamic and dialing it back so that it's not as much of the S curve. It becomes a little bit more linear when you start dialing that back. We don't really need to mess with that right now. Still in the aiming tab, we're going to go into our target aim assist. Of course, you want that on. ADS aim assist, you want that on. We don't really need to go into your motion sensor advanced settings, but I'll show you this real quick. If you click onto that, you can go in here and you see FOV sensitivity scaling. People like to say to have this on. Mine's just been on by default, so I don't know the difference playing with it without. So if yours is off, go ahead and turn that on. Not sure it's gonna make a huge difference, but people have been talking about it. It's one of those things. I just have it on and I just kind of leave it be at that. Now into your movement tab, this is pretty crucial as well, considering we have the on-me movement in this game right now. It's obviously I've been used to it in Black Ops 6, so I've gotten pretty good at it, but basically this is the settings you want to be able to, you know, be aware of. So your sprint assist, this should be on tactical sprint assist. What this allows you to do is it says forward movement input will activate tactical sprint after the sprint assist delay time. Sideways, backwards, and movement will activate sprint after sprint assist delay time. So you want the assist to be on tac sprint assist, not on or off. You want it to be able to tac sprint as quickly as possible with no delay. And to jump down in here to kind of go with that, it says, you know, when you hit that show more, sprint assist delay is on 0. We want that on 0. And same with the sideways and backwards. You want that on for both of those things. Now, mantle assist, this is like a little bit personal preference. If you've had your mantle assist on, you can keep it on. It's not going to like mess you up too bad, but I have had scenarios and instances where I've accidentally mantled something, though it can come in kind of handy sometimes. It's one of those things where it helps you 50% of the time or it goes against you, you know, when you don't want it to. So have that on or off, totally up to you. This is kind of what I got going right now, but my mantle assist angle is tight. So that way, even when I did have it on, I'm not really going down there and like, you know, just mantling anything and everything. So you can really probably keep that on, keep it on tight so nothing happens. Now down here for our crouch assist, you want to keep that on off. We don't really need the crouch assist. I don't find I personally need that. It's not like it's one of those things that is that beneficial to have on. Your corner slice, this is basically where you go up to a corner, and if you go to a corner ADSing, your guy will lean one way or the other. I personally have that off. I don't really find it to be good. It's also not really going to mess you up too much. It's not like one of those things where it's going to make you lean or, you know, snap towards a door or something like that. It's just if you're coming around the door, you will angle a little bit in your ADSing. So that's personal preference at that point. I've had it on, had it off. It's not, you know, too big of a deal, but I just keep it off because I personally don't want to deal with that. This is huge right here. Your movement behaviors, tap to slide. You want to have this on. You can actually keep this on medium or even short. I mean, I've actually adjusted this. Sometimes my settings just randomly revert themselves. Basically, your tap to slide, you want to keep this on short or medium, and you want to have this on tap to slide, so that way you can actually utilize your sliding and your forward, your backwards, you know, side to side, and so on and so forth. You want to be able to have that right there so you can really utilize the Omni movement. Otherwise, you're going to put yourself at a disadvantage to other people that will be using the Omni movement. So your automatic airborne mantle, you can keep this on or off. This is one of those settings, like I said, it's going to help you sometimes, it's going to go against you sometimes. I have it on. Sprint restore, I have that on. Slide, maintain sprint, that is on. Parachute, automatic behavior is free fall. Mantle cancels reload is on. And now we can go into the movement settings, the advanced ones. You guys can just take a look at these real quick. Nothing you guys really have to be too aware of, but that's basically those. And of course, that is going to be that for the movement tab. So the combat tab is not going to be super huge, but there's a few things in here. So the body shield finishing move, mine is just prioritize a finishing move because I'm not really trying to use body shields too much, but you can like literally just choose whatever you want it to do. This is like one of those things where you want to be that guy and use a body shield, go for it. If not, you just want to hit that finishing move, kind of like what I'd prefer to do, then just go for that. And then of course your armor plate behavior, want this on apply all, so that way you hold down your button once and it applies all of your plates. You can get back up to full, you know, full health right there. That is pretty nice to have. And now we can go down here to our combat advanced settings, and this has got a couple settings in here which you guys should have. Of course, your interact / reload behavior, this is pretty crucial to have on. Prioritize interact. Tap to reload for multiplayer, that is, you know, that's the meta for multiplayer. Prioritize interact for Warzone, so that way you can drop in and just, you know, mash the button real quick, pick up whatever's on the ground. You don't have to hold, wait till it, you know, pick something up. That's not beneficial at all. If you plan tap to reload, switch over to prioritize interact. It'll take a second to get used to, but I'm telling you, it is worth it in the long run. It'll make your gameplay so much better, and you will stop dying off spawn, you know, when you immediately drop in to pick something up, because you can pick it up faster than someone else that's on tap to reload. My sprint cancels reload is on. My Kimbo behavior is on independent. I like to be able to shoot those independently. And of course, this is what I have right here, but we can go back in here to the combat tab, and there's not really a bunch of these advanced overlay settings you guys have to take note of. These are just the standard settings. I personally have not messed with them at all. Now we're gonna jump into the graphics tab portion for this. I'm not gonna get much into the display settings and the quality settings and that sort of stuff, considering I'm on PC, and even if you are on PC, everyone's build's totally different, so that's not gonna be good for a lot of people out there. I might have to make a dedicated PC settings video for all that, but basically your field of view, you want this to be on like 120. Some people say that, oh, if you play on 120, you get less aim assist. That's just not true. You still get the correct amount of aim assist on 120. That is definitely like factually incorrect if you say that you don't get as much. So you can go ahead and play on that. I'd recommend for everyone to play on affected instead of independent. If you're going to be having 120 FOV, you want to make sure that you're not zooming into 80 FOV or 90, whatever it is. Whenever you do zoom in, that's not beneficial at all, so you want to keep that on affected. Also makes your visual recoil look like it's less instead of more, so we like that. Weapon field of view should be on wide. This makes the weapon look a little bit smaller. It's not like it makes it look puny. If you've ever seen any of my videos, I always run it on wide, so you should just keep it on that. It helps you see a little bit more of what's going on in the game. And this is what I got here for third person field of view and vehicle field of view. And of course, we have our world motion blur and our weapon motion blur off. That is pretty nice. We don't want to blur anything on the screen. We want to make sure we see as much as humanly possible. Of course, your first person and third person camera movement should be on 50%, basically the least. We don't need to have it so that like we are, you know, our camera's moving around, jumbling around. That just makes it harder to see what's going on screen. Now into a tab that's going to be a little bit more controversial, and the reason being is because they added in this like enhanced headphone setting, stuff like that. So of course my master game volume is just at 100. I mean, you can turn this down if you want to. It's not going to make that big of a difference. I keep my gameplay music off because I don't want to hear any of that. When it's coming down to the final circle in Warzone, I want to be able to hear what's going on, people moving around. I'm trying to figure that stuff out, not some crazy climactic music. I don't want to hear that. So I have that at 0. This is just my default device, is just my headphones on my gaming PC. And then there's of course this enhanced headphone mode configuration. It just shows like a QR code. You can sign up for a free trial or whatever. I personally don't have that. I don't find it necessary. And then of course my audio mix is on headphone bass boost. There's not really like a best one to have, honestly. It's kind of whatever sounds best to you, whatever sounds best with your headphones, whatever device you're playing on. Some people play from their TV speakers. Other people like me have headsets, so that's kind of that. And then of course down here it doesn't really matter. But there's also this one setting I find kind of interesting, asymmetrical hearing compensation. Basically what this does is it blocks out a lot of the random noises of like the map, for instance, a lot of the ambient noises, the random stuff you'd hear. And it allows you to kind of focus in a little bit more on like footsteps and gunshots, so it doesn't muffle anything that you want to hear. Like it doesn't make it sound like you have like an audio tune. It just makes like some of the other random noises that you don't really care about not really as apparent. So it just helps you focus on things you want to hear that are actually crucial to being better in Warzone, rather than just random ambient noises. Lastly, we're gonna get in here to the interface tab, and we're gonna show you guys just a couple of things they're gonna help you out. Nothing really to go over in the global tab. This is just kind of what it is. It's just, you can leave it as default. Readability is where you're gonna start getting into some things that we are gonna change. So we're gonna go all the way down here to color customization. Click on that, and basically your HUD, a color palette, this can be on default. Mine is going to be left on default, but we're going to go all the way through here. And this is what really matters down here, is this. So color filter, you want this on filter 2. Color filter target, you want that on both. And you want the color intensity for world and interface both at 100. This is going to make your game look a lot more vibrant, a lot more clear. You're going to be able to pick people out easier. Some people think I have like NVIDIA filters on. It's like, no, I only have these settings right here, and like a ever so slight color correction on my recording software. So it's not even something I see, it's just on my recording software. But whenever I'm picking people out in game, it's because of these settings I have right here that make it easier to see things. It gives them a little more contrast, more vibrance. It makes your game look a lot better, not a lot less dull. You want the color palette to be nice, so we have that right there. And then of course, going over here to your gameplay HUD, still in the interface tab. You can keep your HUD balance kind of like whatever, and then your minimap shape should be on square. Gives you more area to see what's going on. Minimap rotation on. And then something I find that's a little bit cool is you go down here. You can go on down here to your crosshair and you hit that show more. You want your crosshair dot to be on. You want this to be on largest. This helps you center your shots the easiest. Your crosshair spread can be on. That's perfectly fine. Crosshair opacity at 100, and we do not want to change the color of this. If we change the color of that, that's just going to make it so that it potentially blends in somehow, some way, makes it harder to center your shots. We do not want that. We want this to just be as easy as possible. All right, well, folks, that's going to be that. That is my settings. If you guys enjoyed today's video, be sure to give this thing a like for the algorithm, subscribe, notifications turned on, check out this other video on screen. I'll see you guys all next time.